Okay, Shalom Ubracha. Nice to be back after, I think it's been 6-7 months last time we were here. We are going to go today into follow-up to the last class we gave here on Simcha, based on lesson 24, where Rabbi Nachman, he goes into bypassing other ideas. And we're going to use Nossin's explanation in his Likutei Halachot on an amazing Gemara, Bechorot, Daf Chet Amud Bet, of the story of the Wise Men of Athens. This story is basically untouched by the world. The only book that was out was like 25, 30 years ago, fell back without the juggler and the king. The Gaon's insights on the Agaritas and on the story. But Rav Nossin's Chidushim are basically untouched. So we're going to go first a little into Nossin's explanation, connected to the Likutei Moran lesson 24 as a follow-up in Simcha and doing mitzvah of the Simcha. Okay. Gemara starts like this. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chanaya, who, by the way, the Arizal says he's buried in Tzfat. If you remember how Tzfat looks like, you have the Arizal's kever on top and the Mikra Ari, and below there's a kever that says Hoshea ben Be'eri. If Chaim Vital writes, that's wrong. It's not Hoshea ben Be'eri, it's Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chanaya. He was called the Wise Men of the Jews, Hakim ad Yehuda. He was the one who was sent always by the Jewish community in Eretz Yisrael to Rome in order to do Pidyon Shvuim, to speak on behalf of the Jewish people. The emperor of Rome really liked, he found favor in his eyes with Yehoshua ben Chananya. Because of that, he would also speak to him about various ideas. So the emperor asked Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chananya, how long is the gestation, the pregnancy period of a snake? Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chananya said, 7 years. He said, it can't be. The Wise Men of Athens said, and they're big shot people, they said it's only 3 years. He says, not so. But the snake was already pregnant beforehand 4 years. The emperor says, but we see that the snake continues to mate even after getting pregnant. And Rashi says the rule that behemot, once they're pregnant, they don't have relations anymore. So Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chananya said, in this, the snakes are like human beings. So it says that these are very wise people. They're very sharp people. Yehoshua said, and I'm smarter than them. I am much more wiser than them. She said, prove it to me. Prove it to me. Bring them here to me. Show me your greatness. He asked, how many are they? He said, 60 of them. So Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chananya thought, he says, okay, prepare for me a ship, a boat, with 60 rooms, and each room should have 60 chairs. He said, okay, prepare the ship. He set sail to Athens, which is in Greece, not far from Rome, okay? And he arrived there to Athens. He's looking where to go, because he's asking people, where is the college, the Academy of the Wise Men of Athens? No one knows. No one wants to tell him. They're scared. So he goes to the butcher, the local butcher, and he says to the butcher, how much does it cost for your head? Which means to buy a head of an animal. He said, half a zuz. So the Rabbi Yehoshua says, okay, so give me your head. So he cuts him, he puts his money on the table already to show that it's a premium. And the butcher puts a head of an animal on the table. So Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chananya said, I didn't ask for the animal's head. I said, your head. So give me, I said, the wording, I asked for your head. And he saw that he's stuck. He said, I want your head. I paid for you. I put the money down. You took it. So he said, yeah, listen, you want to get out of this? Yes, I want to get out of this. You want it? He said, I want you to lead me to the entrance to the Academy of the Wise Men of Athens. He said, no, don't ask this of me. This is dangerous. If they find out that I led you to them, they'll kill me. He said, I have an idea. I have a plan. I have a plan. I want you to take a bundle of reeds and put it on your shoulder and walk in front of me and to pretend as if you're walking and carrying. And when you reach the entrance, in front of the entrance of the academy, pretend you're resting, put down the bundle of reeds, okay? And that way I will know, I'll be following you from behind. I will know that this is the entrance. He said, okay. So he did that. The butcher walked with the bundle of reeds on his shoulder, and he pretended to take a break, and he continued. Rabbi Yehoshua saw the entrance, and he came to the entrance of the academy. What does he see? He sees guards on the outside of the threshold and guards on the other side. So he thought it was a trap. Why the guards here and guards over there? The guards on both sides is to kill anyone who enters or anyone who leaves. Right? Someone who tries to enter, so the guards on the outside will kill. So the guards on the inside will kill. Anyone who tries to leave, the guards on the outside will kill. And what do they do? There's somewhere span there. I just have to take this off a second. Oh, good. They put bran, subin, on the threshold. Why subin? Because the footprints are very noticeable when walking over the bran. So what did he do, Rosh Hashanah? He reversed his sandals, his shoes, and walked backwards, but up to the edge of the threshold. The guards had a rule, instructions. You can only kill somebody who walks completely over the threshold on either direction. They saw him walking in, and they thought, don't come in, but he's not listening to them, number one. And he only walks up to the edge of the threshold, and then he walked backwards. So his shoes are on backwards, okay? He goes up to the edge, and then he followed back, and he waited to see what happened. And the guards were on patrol by the Wise Men of Athens to see if they're doing their job. They would see the footprints in the bird. If they see footprints going in and going out, they know who to kill. So he switched his sandals backwards, and he reached the threshold, and then he didn't cross it. He went back. The Wise Men of Athens came. They saw footprints of someone leaving, right? So they killed the guards on the inside, okay? And then he put his sandals normally, and he walked again up to the threshold and then walked back and waited to see what happened. They came, they killed other guards. So in the meantime, the entrance was left with no guards. He walked right in, okay? He gets in, he sees the Wise Men of Athens, 60 of them, okay? And they're designed in a way that there's a higher stage, a higher level, and the lower one. The elders were on the bottom level, and the younger elders were on top. It was a trick. Why? If he says greetings to the older sages of the Wise Men of Athens, the ones in tops will say, but we're on the top. We're more respectable. You disgrace our honor, you should be killed. Okay? And then if it's the opposite, if he now says greetings to the ones on top, the elders say, but we're more important because we're the older ones. So what did he say? The Gemara says, Shalom Aleichem. He said, Shalom to all of you. He said, who are you and what do you want? He says, I'm Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chanaya. I'm from the wise of the Jewish people. He said, and I come to learn from you. He said, that's the case. So we have a few questions to ask you, the wise men of the Jewish people. He said, very well. Challenge me. If you win, he said to the wise men of Athens, you can do with me as you wish. But if I win, I ask that you all come and eat bread with me on my ship, on my boat, to break bread with me on my ship. He said, very well. There's about 12 challenges, and he knocked them all off. Rabbi Nachman Lepitimaran, from lesson 23 to 31, he bases each lesson on one of the arguments between Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chananya and the Sabbath between the Wise Men of Athens. The one we're going to go into today is the following. It's found in lesson 24. It says like this. They asked him, Emtza de Alma Hecha. where is the center of the universe? They asked him. So Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chananya raised his finger, Zakfa etzba'ata. He raised his finger and he said, here, hacha, right over here. They said, Mi Emar, who says is the center of the universe? He said to them, Aitu, Ashle, Umoshchu. Come, bring a measuring tape and measure, you'll see. Okay? We're going to go into that eventually. He won them in all the challenges. This is like an example. Another example is they brought him two pieces of cheese. Can you tell us which comes from a black goat and which cheese comes from the white goat? So he brought them 2 eggs. He says, first you tell me which came from the white chicken and which came from the dark chicken. Okay? It's very, very intriguing, very weird. Okay? The Maharsha, this is one place in the Gemara, the Maharsha says that the deepest secrets of the Torah are in the Agaritas of the Shas. And I think in this Gemara, he goes out of his way to reiterate that point, that in the Agaritas you have the deepest secrets, okay? So the Kitzer, he won the battle, and he brings him to his ship. So before he leads him onto the boat, he had a bag with him, a sack, and he filled up earth from Athens into the sack, okay? He got on the ship, he leads them on one at a time. He takes the first one, okay, and he brings him into the first room. He says, sit down here. What does he see, the Wise Men of Athens? He sees 59 empty chairs. What does he think? Oh, my friends, my comrades are coming very soon, okay? He takes the second one, he puts him in the second room, and he sees again 59 chairs, so he thinks, they're coming to this room. This way, he plays a game on them. He puts one in each of the 60 rooms and gets them bored and waiting, and they become a bit submitted and yawning and tired, okay? So then he tells the captain of the ship, okay, let's go to Rome. While traveling on the ocean from Athens to Rome, they passed by what's called the Bay Blue in Aramaic. What's a Bay Blue? An eddy. An eddy in English is like a tornado in the sea, swallowing up everything. The ship passed the edge of the eddy. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chananya saw over the eddy, the tornado, an image, 3 images. Someone with his hands on his head, someone with the hands on the heart, someone with the hands behind the back. As he saw that, he took a jug, he went on the side of the ship while it's passing the tornado. All this is the Gemara, but it's the Gemara. And he levered himself into the sea, and he filled up water specifically from the eddy, from the tornado in the water in the sea. He took from that water in the jug. So you have this special type of water in the jug, went back up on the ship, brought them to Rome. And by this time, they were tired and they're not themselves. They were very submitted. And he brought them in front of the emperor and he says, here they are. Here are the 60 wise men of Athens. He says, this is them. They were normally Balgaivanics, very haughty, very aristocratic. It doesn't look, who are these people? He probably took people from the shuk. He said, well, he had the bag of the earth from Athens. He took from the earth and he sprinkled it on their nose, on their faces. So they smelled the scent of their homeland and they woke up again being Balgaivanics that they were and the aristocratic people that they were. Okay? So the emperor says, yes, these are the wise men of Athens. So now I ask you, kill them. Do away with them. So Rabbi Yehoshua said very well. He brought a cistern, a cistern for water. An urn. He took the water that he had in the jug from the Beglue, and he poured it into the cistern. And he told the wise men of Athens, your job, fill this cistern up, this urn with water, and you're free to go. So they brought buckets of water to fill in the urn. But whenever they put in water, the original water from the jug, which came from the eddy, was swallowing up all the water. So he's putting in more water, and it just swallowed up. They couldn't figure this out. This is so irrational. Does it make sense? And they couldn't accept it. This doesn't make sense. And they kept on filling up water, and they couldn't accept it. They kept on filling it up and filling it up and filling it up until they all passed out and they all died. Okay? This is the story in the Gemara. We're going to go in a few insights from Rav Nosson. Rav Nosson goes in this idea of Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chananya switching the sandals. What's the idea of the sandal? The sandal is the idea that it says about Moshe Rabbeinu when he went up to the snake. It says there, Shal na'alecha me'al raglecha. Right? Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, you're standing on holy holy soil, holy land, you have to take off your shoes. The Zohar says, what does it mean, take off your shoes? The Zohar says two words, iteta. This refers to the desire for the woman. In other words, the tava. You have to be totally clean to be standing here right now. So what Nosson shows, the idea of a shoe, a sandal, is the idea of Kedushat Habrit. So he says something phenomenal about Rabbi Shimon Chanaya, who is a prime example of a tzaddik gamur. Proof is on the Gemara with such emphasis on what he did. Okay, he says like this. It's also based on the Gemara and Brachot. When there's a difference between a tzaddik and a tzaddik gamur. What's the difference? A tzaddik still has fear of averot shebe'ado. He still has a fear of sins that he may have done tshuva for, but he still has a pachad because of the averot. Okay, tzaddik gamur doesn't have that. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chananya, when he saw the guards in front of him, when he approached the college, the academy of the Wise Men of Athens, and he saw guards, and he has to pass them, and they're an enemy, and he can't just go in like that. So the tzaddik says, how do I subdue my enemies? I have to work more on myself becoming a tzaddik gamur, because if I'm afraid and I have a challenge, it's because I'm not yet at the level. Something phenomenal Rabbi Nosson says, how does a tzaddik subdue his enemies? By working more on himself. By the tzaddik more enhancing his kedusha, the enemies fall levad. Automatically they fall. It doesn't touch them even. It doesn't have to give a boxing match, nothing. The enemies of a tzaddik fall by themselves. You just stand there, and you just disappear. Right? Dissipate on the spot. So Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chananya switched his sandals, meaning what? If I'm having this test of guards of an enemy, like not letting me to advance, that's a siman that I'm not yet 100% holy like I should be. So what did he do? Switching the sandals means he worked on himself. Rabbi Nachman Rabbeinu brings in the book Chaim Moran Tzaddik that you have tzaddikim that are compared to leather which is tanned leather, worked leather. However, you have leather like you buy a brand new wallet. You can smell the fresh leather. You have these nice British wallets, right? Pure leather wallets, and you smell the leather. He says, Rabbi Nachman, if you work more at the leather, if you keep on working at it, to work at it, you can reach a point where there's no more smell. You work at it more, there's less of a scent of the leather. Less and less, until you can reach a point where there's no scent of leather left on the wall, on the leather garment. Okay? So he says, Rabbi Nachman, that some tzaddikim, they're compared to leather, which still has the smell of the leather. It's work. They worked on themselves, they're tzaddikim. They worked on their skin, their or, okay? But they're not yet fully there. They still have a sense of the gashmiut, of the physicality. However, he says they're tzaddikim, they worked on themselves at such a caliber, such a level, that there's no more scent of the leather anymore. They worked on their or, on their goof, their body, with such determination and such koach, there's no bad smell of scent left anymore. So Rabbi Nosson says the switching of the sandals of Rabbi Shimon Chananya is the idea how the tzaddik, in this case Rabbi Shimon Chananya, he saw the enemies in front of him. So what he has to do is to work on himself more. So the first switching of the sandals killed all those guards on the inside. And then he switched again, meaning he worked his midot, thus again switching again the sandals and working on himself more until the other guards outside were killed. And there's no more enemies, he can just walk right in. Rabbi Nosson illustrates this point, he focuses on this point to show you what a tzaddik is. A tzaddik is someone who's not afraid. Tzaddik gamur is someone who's not afraid of any challenge in life, okay? He's not afraid, what if this, what if that? He goes forward, the enemies fall in front of him. If now a person has doubts and said, because averot shebe'ado, he has still sins in his hands, which causing him to, maybe I should like this, maybe I should like that. A tzaddik gamur just walks ahead and things just like open up like Yam soup in front of him, okay? Extend this now, the challenge that we mentioned. What was the challenge? They asked him, where is the center of the universe? He raised his finger and said, right over here, right? He said over here. They said to him, Miyemar, who says you're right? He said, come and measure, bring a measuring tape, and you'll see. Rabbi Nachman opens up this argument as follows. They asked him, where's the center of the universe? Meaning, what is the center of the universe? It's the Ein Sof, the infinite light. The infinite light is where everybody receives chayut from. Chayut and shefa, life and nourishment come from the Or Ein Sof. On a more down-to-earth level explanation, it's like this. Any time in life, you have a goal, you have a determination to do something with yourself. Even if it's a physical concept, to open a business and do this and that. Or if it's in Yiddishkeit, I want to advance, I want to finish this, I want to work on my eyes, I want to advance higher and higher and go forward. Any aspiration that you have that's positive, that brings you light in your life, meaning it brings you joy, because if you weren't happy, you wouldn't do it. The person who's depressed is like, forget it, I go to bed, doesn't do anything. The person has aspiration, he has light, and by extension, he has simcha. Everything that happens in this world that gives a person that push, come on, you can do everything, it comes from the Ein Sof. It's light emanating from the Ein Sof. We see this in the Gematria of Or. Or is Gematria, Aleph 1, Vav 6, Reish 200, 207. Ein Sof also 1, 10, 50, 60, and 6, and 80, also 207. Or by definition is Ein Sof. Any light that a person has in their existence, anyone, it's coming from the Ein Sof. Asked him, how does a person, where is it? How do I get to it? How do I grab it? How do I make it tangible, the Ein Sof itself? Said I'm receiving along my journey in life shoots of light coming from the Ein Sof. But how do I connect with itself directly? He raised his finger. Rabbi Yehoshua raised his finger, and he hinted to the concept of the hands. Nachman explains the concept of the hands brings a person to the Ein Sof. And what is the concept of the hands? He says the hands is the idea of bracha, like it says by Aharon Shmini, Vayisa Aharon et yadav vayvarechem. And Aharon raised his hands and he gave a bracha. We learn from a Birkat Kohanim. If the Kohen doesn't raise his hands, there's no Birkat Kohanim. He has to raise his hands. They don't do Birkat. Kohen who doesn't have arms, he can't. It's a mum. He's pasul. Right? That's why he needs to stand up. It's another thing. But the idea of sticking out the hands, that's a bracha. Right? Also by Yaakov Avinu with Ephraim and Menashe, Sikel et yadav, he gave them a bracha. Fine, Sikel et yadav, but he gave them a bracha of the hands. Okay. Parents Friday night, Yivarechecha. Okay. The idea of bracha is associated with the hands. Why? The Zohar goes into this very heavy. The 10 fingers of a human being correspond to the 10 sefirot. And the shape of the fingers are like tzimarot, pipelines. Because the way of the fingers is to draw down bracha. Because that the Zohar says something very scary. A person should never raise their hands rek, empty. Meaning what? We're not talking about a person now, who's busy exercising or doing something that you need to do with your hands. A person just like that raises their hands with no tefillah or prayer associated, okay, it's dangerous. Why is it dangerous? Because as soon as a Jew elevates his hands, he's activating the channel of the 10 sefirot, okay? It means now they're coming down, the energy, shefa is coming down. If now there's no bracha or prayer associated with it, it goes to the other side. Where do we see that? The other side of the fingers, you have the nails. Nails is the biggest tumah. We do in the morning, every morning, Nagelwasser. Nagelwasser, because the biggest tumah on the body that stays is on the nails. And they're where they're located? On the hand, on the other side of the hand. When a person now elevates his hands and doesn't do it to channel down bracha through davening, it's like rek. So the sitracha, the evil takes it. That's why the Ramak brings a big warning. Never raise your hands empty. Raise your hands, oh, Ribbon Shalom, allow me to be a good Jew. Do a prayer with it, and that activates the channel. It's a big thing. It's funny, in rest of they talk about this. The idea of clapping the hands is one inyan, clap your hands in davening. The other inyan to also raise your hands. Ribbon Shalom, that's what to do. When you really need, you raise your hands, and you do it accompanied with davening. Okay? So now, the hands are the source of bracha. And what's the main bracha? The Zohar says, what's the main bracha? The main bracha is sechel, is dat. The Gemara in the Darim, also Pirkei Avot, if you remember, dat kanita machasarta. Dat chasarta makanita. If you have dat, you have everything. And if you don't have dat, then what do you have? You have nothing. Dat is the key. I have all these things in my life, but there's no dat, it's empty. The Zohar says this is what bracha really is. Baruch, the Zohar stands for, is bet reish vav chav. Bet is birchot or brachot kol, sorry, Birchot Rosh, blessings of the mind, the intellect, umekor kol, and the root of everything. Okay, the root of everything. Umekor kol, meaning that when you have the brachot of the Rosh, the intellect, there's everything automatic. So the main bracha is intellect, and it's connected with the hands. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chanaya raised his finger to say, you want to connect to the Ein Sof, you need the concept of the hands, which bring the bracha of the da'at. That when the person now has this da'at, he has the facility and the faculty and the ability to connect to the Ein Sof. That's his stepping stone. They said to him, Mi Yemar. Who says? Rabbi Nachman says the word Yemar is also similar to an exchange, right? Like Parshat Bechukotai, Ve'im Hamer Yemirenu. Right? When we want to change money in Israel, what's called Hamarat Matbea, Hamara, exchange. Mi Yemar, they're saying to him, who has the chutzpah, the audacity to enter the domain of the exchange chambers. Yemar is Tmua. What is the exchange chambers? This is something pretty scary. The Sitra Achra is called the exchange chambers. Their domain is the exchange chambers. Meaning what? The way the Yetzer Hara is able to get a person to fall is by fooling them, by switching good with bad, pure with impure, holy with unholy, truth with sheker. That's the only way the Yetzer Hara can get a person. Rabbi Nachman says that the Yetzer Hara doesn't come with just Esav and all the nose rings and everything, and I'm going to kill you. The Yetzer Hara comes with a big shtreimel, a große Pers and a geschaltzige and a nice beard, and he comes from the Kedusha to bring you down. That's why it's so dangerous. Jews, you have no idea where you're holding and what you're doing, if it's from the side of the Kedusha or the side of the Tumah. Okay, there's many stories to go on that. We don't have much time. We have to get on base. Yetzer Hara does everything to get a person down. He switches and turns everything. It's danger zone. It's danger zone. But they're saying to him, Miyemar, to get to the brachot, Rabbi Nachman explains, you need to first go into the exchanged chambers, the Hechalat Moros, and elevate the Kedusha trapped there. And the only way to elevate it is through Simcha. But that's the way, they said. Who has the audacity to go there and to elevate it? Remember, the holiness outside. That's the prerequisite, and you're in danger. Okay? And the biggest danger of the Hechalat Murot, the exchange chambers, is Atzvut. Because if you look at it, how the Yetzer Hara makes a person go crazy in life and suffer and everything. What is the goal of everything that's happening to bring a person down? Is to bring them down, to bring them sad. When you think about it, whatever a person is going through, I have this happening, that, the goal is to make a person not happy, to make them down. That's what's happening. That's what's actually happening. The goal of the Yetzer Hara is to attack a person's simcha, to show you where the simcha is standing, okay? Remember this, Parshat Ki Tavo, all the klalot, the 98 klalot in Ki Tavo, Tachat Asher, Lo avadetem et Hashem Elokechem, Besimcha, okay? All this comes to you because you didn't serve Hashem, Besimcha. The pasuk doesn't say, all this comes to you because you didn't serve Hashem, period. No. It didn't say, all this comes to you because you didn't serve Hashem. No. The pasuk says, all this is coming to you because you didn't serve Hashem, Besimcha. Enjoy. Show you that this is the cup of everything else. And that's what the Yetzer Hara is after. When you have to know something. Like the famous story told about the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh. Remember, the Baal Shem Tov in Istanbul, and the story told on the last day of Pesach, and he promised a couple who were barren. They couldn't have kids. They came from Germany, a rich couple from Deutschland, wouldn't have kids for many years. The doctors say you will never have kids, etc., etc. Okay? So the Baal Shem Tov promised them that they have a child, the Ben Zachar, and then there was a big deen in Beit Din Shlomo and Baal Shem Tov, who you can now change all of nature. Okay, to change all of nature now, he's born barren, she's born barren, and I have to change the whole ma'arechet, the whole structure of the Gilgulim and everything that Hashem has in his plans. You have to change everything because the Baal Shem Tov wishes. So there was such a kitrug against the Baal Shem Tov that they were paskin because of the kitrug that he loses olam haba, right? So the Yetzer Hara was happy. He got the Baal Shem Tov down. And the Baal Shem Tov got out of it. He says, great. No Olam Haba? Great. Now I can serve Hashem. L'Shem Shamayim. No Olam Haba. Everything's L'Shem Shamayim now. And the story ends. That's how we tell the story on the last day of Shir Pesach, the Achron Shel Pesach. That the Yetzirah, the Kitrug, saw how happy the Baal Shem Tov was. Give him back his Olam Haba. Give it back to him. Showing what? That they're after the Simcha. The Yetzirah is after one thing, is that a person's morale down, period. Okay? So again, they're asking, they, the Wise Men of Athens, who are the representatives of the Hichalat Murad, the exchange chambers, they said to him, who has the chutzpah, the audacity, the courage to go to the exchange chambers? So he answered them, I too, Ashle umoshchu. Which is the simple translation we said is bring a measurement stick, a measurement cord, okay, and measure. Nachman reads it like this, I too, you will bring Ashle. Ashle translates as a cord. Chevel. Chevel is a hint to Am Yisrael. We're called Chevel Nachalato. We are the cord of the triple folded cord of Hashem, because we are made from a strong foundation of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So we're a triple cord, can't be broken. If we're strong, okay? You, the Sitra, the Wise Men of Athens, are going to bring us, Ashle umoshchu. The word moshchu means to measure. It's similar to what it says in Shmuel Aleph about David HaMelech when he killed Moab. So it says he measured them, he laid them on the ground, and he measured whoever passed a certain point, he killed them. He measured like a small measurement, and any part of the body that was after that, like measured to measurement, he killed them, he cut it off, okay? So moshchu, Rabbi Nachman points as a reference to killing off, wiping off the klipot. So he's saying, you will, in future time, bring us back and be destroyed. And in the future, that's going to be the ultimate simcha, right? Ki besimcha tetzeu, on Yeshayahu, is a prophecy of the future, that when Mashiach comes, there's going to be major simcha, right? All the psukim, ki besimcha tetzeu, shulam tuvalun, all the psukim that talk about the future joy that's going to be. Rav Nosson asks, Rabbi Nachman didn't answer the question. Well, he didn't answer the question. They asked him, Mi Emar, who has the chutzpah, the audacity, the courage to go to the Hechalat Mod, and he answered, don't worry, in time to come in the future, you guys are going to bring us out, and the simcha is going to be so strong. First of all, what's the answer here? He says the simcha is how to get out of the Hechalat Mod. Because Hechalat Mod, the Sitra, their hold on a person is outwit. So what's the key to get out? Is simcha, but specifically doing a mitzvah, the simcha, okay? An amazing insight quickly from the Rabbeinu Bachye. Rabbeinu Bachye, Parshat Naso, he learns out from where it talks about the avodah of the Leviim. There's what's called avodat masa. There's a pasuk you remember in Parshat Naso. The avodat avodah. There's work for another work. What's avodah? That the work of the korbanot had on them another work, which was the service of the singing of the Leviim on the duchan when the korbanot was being offered by the Kohanim. So from Rabbeinu Bachye, there's a long arichut there in Parshat Naso. It shows that this applies to every mitzvah. That the simcha generated by the duchan, the Levim and the duchan, accompanying the korbanot, and it's called an avodah. Avodah is a mitzvah. It calls the avodah of the Kohanim avodah, a mitzvah, the korbanot, and the avodah of the avodah is the singing and the simcha of the Levim. So it's an opening to understand. Rabbeinu Bachye shows this applies to every mitzvah. Whenever you do a mitzvah, for example, you do the mitzvah of tefillin, you get a mitzvah for doing tefillin, for doing mitzvah tefillin. You do tefillin b'simcha, so you get one mitzvah for the tefillin and one mitzvah for the simcha of doing the tefillin b'simcha. Okay, Yom Kippur, Shabbos, Sukkot, everything. Tzedakah, Talmud Torah. You do something with a geshmak and a simcha, you get a mitzvah for that also. Okay, so how to get out of the situation? Ki b'simcha tetzeu is not just the pasuk of the future prophecy, but whenever you're stuck in the Hechalat Mod exchange chambers, the way to get out is through simcha. Okay? So now the question, Rabbi Nachman, you didn't answer the question. How does Rabbi Yehoshua say, in time to come, you will bring us out, and that's what will be an ultimate simcha? But how about now? They asked him, who has the audacity, the courage to go into the Hechalat Mod now and come out now? So from here he says something phenomenal. You need to borrow simcha from the future. You need to borrow simcha from the future. It's a concept, it's in the Zohar. Whenever Hashem sends a salvation to the person today, person Hashem is diagnosed with cancer or this or that, and they need a major Yeshua. And the Yeshua does happen. We'll hear these amazing stories. Unbelievable, he got through it. This happened. And the Yeshua, the Zohar says, comes from the future redemption. The future redemption is so complete that it shines from the future to today. So Nosson once told somebody, it was a wrestler who was having a very hard life, hard day, and he says, I can't daven in the morning, I can't serve Hashem b'simcha, I can't be b'simcha, I can't. So Nosson told him, borrow the simcha from the future. This is amazing Eitzah. In my present situation, I can't figure out how to be happy, I can't figure out how to connect. So what do I have to do? And the more I think about the situation, the more I get into trauma and I get stressed and distressed and I start going crazy. The more I think about, oh my God, how am I going to do? What about my kids and this and that? When a person starts thinking about the problem, he just gets sucked in. It just sucks him in. She can't think about it because he'll go nuts. So what's needed? He has to look elsewhere, not to run away from the problem. He has to look elsewhere to get energy of simcha. So now with this simcha that he got from another level, another place, he faces the daily challenges, the daily grinds, but he has this simcha that he took from another place to be able to do the daily challenges and situations that he's going through in life. So this, when Nosson explained, this is the Rebbe's answer. That you borrow the simcha from the future. Okay. There was an amazing point in this analogy. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chanaya, there's another point here. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chanaya, he raised his finger. Based on this whole explanation, when they asked, how does a person connect to the Ein Sof, the infinite light, which is the source of all the bracha and the chayut and shef and everything, Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chananya could have just said, through the concept of hands. Why does the Gemara say, he lift up his finger, zakfa etzba'ata? Why does the Gemara say he lift up his finger? Another point. Here we go. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chananya, we saw already, is a tzaddik gamur. He switched the sandals. He was able to hit in. He was able to subdue all the wise men of Athens on his own. Okay? He's an example of a tzaddik. A tzaddik is someone who has this access to the hands and to the future simcha. Meaning what? What does that mean for me? For me also now, little me, with my daily challenges and my struggle to borrow simcha from the future, I'm going to need a tzaddik in my life to shine me this light. Okay, we have a class now. We're learning these ideas. Very interesting, very sichli, very intellectual. We're learning now. How do we become the Kayim Zayin? How do I come to do this? For this, a person needs a tzaddik in his life. That's why it's not enough. A person can't just say, I'm an art school Jew. I have my Seder and Daf Yomi in my art school in the morning. I have my art school Chumash. I have my code of Jewish law, art school, my art school Seder, and I have my Shurei Davin, and that's my life. And the rabbi gives a Daf Yomi sure. Do you have a tzaddik in your life? If someone who's able to shine you the light that you need for your daily challenges, that's what you need. You can learn all these ideas of simcha and everything, but then when you go to face the challenges, you feel the Tisha B'Av darkness just getting at you, how you be the simcha. So here, that Rabbi Yehoshua ben Chananya raised his finger, Zakfa Etzba'ata, and he said, here's the center of the universe. Through my hands, he's saying about it, he's showing his hands. Through my fingers, my hands, I'm able to activate the Or Ein Sof, to shine Shefa and light and salvation. That's what he was telling them. For us, what does this mean? We need a tzaddik. We need a tzaddik to shine this light into us. Based on all this, okay, everything here we gave right now in this past 45 minutes is based on Likutei Moran lesson 24. We have today, I think it's the first time this is ever being done, to present to you what's called the 40-day challenge. To explain like this. Rabbi Nachman's teachings in the Likutei Moran are very unique. Okay, this applies to all the Torah, but it's especially unique about the Torah of Rabbi Nachman. In that, as you learn it, as you learn the teachings of Rabbi Nachman, you begin to activate them. It's something phenomenal. It's something which can only be experienced by someone who's tasted this. When you learn Rabbi Nachman's teaching, all of a sudden, things in life begin to happen, and you see the connection between what you just learned now. You're learning them in a sefer, fine, but it opens it up. This is true about the whole Torah. For example, tzaddikim, when they learn a daf gemara, when they learn a halacha, when they learn a midrash, They're able to see how what they're going through in life is connected to that Gemara, to that Midrash, to that Chazal. We don't have those eyes. The Pasuk says, if you remember in Tehillim, Einei Hashem el tzaddikim. The shot is, what's Einei Hashem el tzaddikim? Hashem's eyes are onto the tzaddikim. Rabbi Nachman interprets it like this. Einei Hashem el tzaddikim. The X-ray eyes of Hashem, Hashem's X-ray eyes, are to the tzaddikim. The tzaddikim have Hashem's eyes. When the tzaddikim see the Torah, it's all open in front of them. Everything's open, okay? But how about us? So this is the idea of what Chassidut is. The learnings of Chassidut, in particular, Rabbi Nachman's teachings, is that they take everything that's out there and bring it to you. They bring the light of the Torah to you, so that now your eyes are opened and you see things happening. But that's not enough. Whoopie thing. Okay, very nice. I need help. I need a Yeshua. You showed how the Kutyawan opens up things happening in life. But I need to direct it to where I need help. It's like, for example, a person now who's very sick and needs to buy a specific medication, costs him $500 to buy this medication. Okay. So he finally buys the medication. It's a type of a cream. What does it help that he has the cream if he doesn't apply? He has a wound on his right arm, on his left arm. He has a wound here. He bought this expensive cream, but you have to apply it on the wound. So the idea of now getting a hold of the medication was activated by the Torahs of the Likutei Moharan. The next stage is davening about it. It's a concept called La'asot Mitorot Tfilot. Nachman had a disciple, Rav Nosson, and he guided him. He showed him this concept of turning his lessons into prayers is something phenomenal that Sha'ashuim lo alu me'olam kacha. That Hashem never received the light like this concept of turning Torah lessons into prayers. We have in Judaism two Sfarim, specific Sfarim, that have prayers written on them. We have the Chumash, the Chamisha Chumshei Torah. On them, the Gemara says, we have the 5 books of Tehillim. Why did David HaMelech write 5 Sfarim in Tehillim? They're on the Chumshei Torah. They're not just corresponding to them. They're the davenings of David HaMelech and all the 10 Tzaddikim who wrote with him Tehillim to fulfill what's written in Bereshit, Shemot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, Dvarim. To fulfill it, that's the davening in Tehillim. Another sefer we have that is praise on is Rabbi Nachman's Likutei Moharan. Rav Nosson wrote prayers on the lessons of the Likutei Moharan. What's amazing about these prayers is that he opens you up on the spot. Just to know that you have to experience it to relate to this. But these prayers, as soon as you read them with sincerity and honesty, you feel he's speaking directly to you. When you say Tehillim, okay, and David HaMelech is saying Shama Nafshi, Hatzileni, all these terms, you have to give yourself a little bit of zetz to connect yourself to the words of the Tehillim. You have to say the Kavanah to focus on what you're saying, okay? But Likutei Tefillah, the Muslims' prayers, he opens up everything on the table in front of you, but you find yourself immediately in what he's saying. It's on the spot over there. So, Rav Nosson wrote prayer on this lesson 24. I've prepared, anyone interested, a PDF file of the entire lesson 24, from the Kitzur Likutei Moharan. What's the Kitzur Likutei Moharan? Rabbi Nachman told Rav Nosson, since the Likutei Moharan is very deep, because it's not just bringing ideas, hasagot. After he brings a proof from a Chazal, a Pasuk, a Zohar, a Midrash, and it's lamdanus. You have to learn it. Rabbi Nachman knew that this will be a hindrance for people to pick up the points. He told Rav Nosson to also now arrange all the points that come out from the Likutei Moharan, practical points, okay, and jot them down like in that format. This is the keys of the Likutei Moharan, okay. The idea, learning them activates them, and then we have also a prayer here, the prayer Likutei Tfilot, prayer 24, on this lesson. We prepared also a chart. It's called the 40-day challenge. 40 days. This week's parsha, I saw in Ekev, right? Moshe Rabbeinu davened 40 days to mitigate the kaas and the chema of HaKadosh Baruch Hu from the Chet HaEkev. 40 days, salachti kidvarecha, ready, Rosh Chodeshenu. Let's start now to get ready for the Luchot Shniyot, the second set of tablets of the Luchot. 40 days in Jewish, Yiddish circles is the fixed period to see results. Rav Nosson once said, davening for something for 40 days straight is the best way you can see changes in your life. So we prepared a chart, 40-day chart, on how to use this prayer, Rav Nosson's prayer 24, and the actual lesson 24 from the original Qur'an, okay? And for those who are watching in English and in Hebrew, okay? Please email me, WhatsApp, I'll send you the PDF file of the lesson and the prayer, and the Google chart of the 40 days. WhatsApp number 732-800-1863. Email address breslov BRESLOV therapy@gmail.com. We should be zochet to be b'simcha. We should be zochet to find tzaddikim who can shine this simcha and hope and hadracha to face any challenge that comes our way in life, and not to be afraid, like Rabbi Nachman says, lo le'itpached. Like the song, Shlomo Karlebach, lo le'itpached. Lo le'itpached means don't make yourself afraid. There's no fear there. It's a phobia. It's fake. Lo le'itpached, be strong and face our challenges, and in that we bring Mashiach to Geilah B'ezrat Hashem.
Thank you. Rameir is here visiting from Yerushalayim and going around